Hey, what's going on, guys? I have a front-end project build for you today. We're going to be building a web hosting website or template front-end using a few different technologies, and I'll get to those in a minute. But let's take a look at the project first. Okay, so like I said, it's a web hosting website or template, whatever you want to call it. And we have a few different pages, but this is the home page. All right, now there's kind of a lot of markup in here, so I am going to have to do some pasting, and I usually don't like to. I like to type it all out so you can see exactly what's going on, but what I'll do is paste the HTML in and the CSS and just go over it, all right? Because I wanted to make something that's kind of nice. I mean, this isn't the best looking template in the world, but it's better than a lot of the stuff you see in tutorials, which is usually just very, very basic. So I wanted to give you kind of a real life project, front end project. So this is the home page. We have this top bar here with the address and contact. We have this sub menu. Then we have the main header here with a simple logo, no images, just CSS. And then we have some different packages here, which I'll show you those pages in a second. Then we have the showcase with this box here. Just some features, control panel, data storage, stuff like that. Then we have the starting price, which is actually wrong. It should be $9.99, but we'll fix that. Get started now link. Then here we have a domain search field or domain submission. Basically, when you order a hosting package, you usually pick a domain. So that's what this is. Then we have this tabbing area, this tabs, which is part of Foundation, which I'll go over in a second. And it's just different packages. Okay, I left the same text here. I didn't want to go through and change all that because I figured it's just a waste of time. You guys can edit the content if you want after. All right, so if we keep going, we have these couple sections. So we have an image here, some paragraph text, a read more button, and then we have this title or heading with some subtext, and we have these different icon sets with different features. Okay, we'll be using Font Awesome for icons. And then we just have a footer with some menus, and I put this trust symbol here just to make it look a little more legit. So that's the home page. Then these hosting pages are basically just what we had in the tabs over again, and then just some of the sections down here. So all these pages are pretty much the same, so that'll be pretty easy. And then up here we have the About page. Okay, so this is the About page. We have this image here of this person and then some text. And I kept these two as well, these sections. The Support page is just the contact page, which is a simple form. All right, and then the login link is a modal, or as Foundation calls it, a reveal. Okay, which is just the username, password, and then we have this little switch for Remember Me. Okay, so that's what we'll be building. Now, like I said, we'll be using Foundation, which is a front-end framework. It's very similar to Twitter Bootstrap. So if you haven't used Foundation and you've used Bootstrap, you should have no issues. Even if you haven't used Bootstrap, basically we're just using predefined class names from Foundation, so it's not going to be too difficult. Now, we are going to be using the foundation-cli, which is a command line interface tool, and we're only going to use this to generate the application or the template with Foundation new. And then we also want to run Foundation watch, because that's going to watch our files and it's going to compile any Sass files. So we will be using Sass, which is a CSS precompiler, which allows us to do things like use variables. We can nest styles. You can see here where they're nesting a UL inside of the nav. So we will be using Sass, but we're not going to have to really manage it because foundation-cli will do that for us. All right, so don't get overwhelmed if you've never used the command line before, because we're just using a couple basic commands. Now, in order to install the CLI, you do need Node.js installed, because we have to use npm. npm is part of Node.js. It's Node package modules. If you don't have Node.js installed, just go to nodejs.org. Go ahead and download it. There's a very easy Windows installer, so just get that set up and you should be good to go. All right, so the last thing I want to show you is a tool called Git Bash, which is a command line tool, and it's available with the Git version control system. I would suggest using it if you're on Windows. You can also install it for Mac if you'd like, but just get that set up. You don't need it. You can still use the Windows command line, but I find that when I'm working with NPM and Windows, I get these weird issues sometimes, permissions issues, things like that. And I don't get that when I use the git bash tool, so I would suggest that if you're using Windows. Alright, so that's what we'll be building. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm in my projects folder. This is where I want to create my project. Now when we use the CLI tool to generate our project, it's going to create the folder as well. So you want to open up your command line inside of your projects, wherever you want to put it, wherever you want to put the new folder. So I'm going to go to git bash here. Now if you're not using git bash, you can hold shift and then right click and open command window here. Alright, but we're going to use git bash. So let's go ahead and open that up. And first thing we want to do is install the foundation CLI. So I actually have, let's see, right here. We're going to run this command right here, npm install -g foundation CLI. Now the -g is global, meaning that you'll be able to use it from anywhere. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Install -g and foundation-CLI. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to generate our project. We should now be able to use the foundation command. So we're going to say foundation new. Okay, make sure you're in your projects or wherever you want to create this. And it should just ask us a couple questions. So it asks us what we're building, a website, a web app, or an email template. We're going to click enter for a website. And it's going to ask us what we want to call it. We're going to call it BT hosting, or you can call it whatever you'd like. And then it's going to ask us if we want a basic template or a Zerb template. Okay, so we're going to use a basic template, and it also includes a Sass compiler. So that'll go ahead and create everything, install the dependencies and whatnot. The Foundation CLI uses a lot of tools behind the scenes. It uses Gulp, which is a task runner for JavaScript, which does a whole bunch of things. But we're not going to get into that. It does it for us. Same thing with Sass. We're going to use the Sass files, but we're not going to have to compile it ourselves. Okay, we just need to run Foundation watch, and it'll do all that stuff for us. So now I'm going to go to my editor, which I'm using Atom, which is a really good editor. I would suggest it. I'm actually going to be using the dev server plugin that it has so that we can open it up in on a local host on a server. And if you want to use that, you just need to install it by going to settings and search for Atom Live Server and go ahead and install it. It's this one by this Jazz Chen. Alright, and then once you do that, you'll be able to go to packages and then live server, and then you can open it on whatever port you want. Alright, so let's go ahead and add the project. So I'm going to say add project folder and projects BT hosting. Alright, and then you could go ahead and just open your index.html file, but I'm going to open it on my server on port 5000. Okay, so now I don't want to use Edge though, so let's close that and let's open it up here. Okay, so this is what it will look like at first, and the reason that it looks like this is because the CSS hasn't been compiled, or the Sass files haven't been compiled. So if we look over here, we have a folder called SCSS. These are our Sass files, okay? If we look at the main one, which is app, it just includes all the separate foundation Sass files, which are in Bower components. But, okay, we're not going to have to touch any of those, but it just imports all those. It also imports the settings right here, which is this file. And what this is, it contains a whole bunch of variables that we can mess with. Okay, we can change up the colors in the palette, font sizes, pretty much anything to do with foundation. Okay, heading sizes, things like that. Now, for this to compile into regular CSS, we're just going to go back to git bash. And it even tells us just to run foundation watch. So to escape from this, we're going to do a control C, and then let's do CD and go into BT hosting, and then we'll run foundation watch. Oh, I spelled it wrong. And that should watch the project, and also you can see it just compiled our Sass files. And now if we look over here, we have a CSS folder with an app.css. So this is all the Sass files compiled into one CSS file, and then that's being included right here in the index.html. So if we go now and reload, you can see now the CSS has now kicked in. Okay, so this is basically just the boilerplate that they give us. So we're going to start working on this index.html file. Let's go ahead and change the title. We'll say BT hosting. And I'm going to just get rid of everything in the body except for the script tags at the bottom. Okay, you want to keep these. Okay, and it's including jQuery, it's including the foundation.js. Okay, everything was installed using Bower. Okay, Bower is a front-end package manager. It's like NPM but on the client side, and foundation-cli uses that behind the scenes. Okay, we're also going to use it for a couple things as well. So let's start out just creating our HTML. So if we look at what we're doing here, I'm going to start at the top and work our way down. So we're going to start with this top area here. Now this header right here, this is actually the foundation top bar. If we go to our documentation, let's go to docs, site docs, and let's see, top bar. So it's actually this. Okay, just change some styles. Now the very top, this part has nothing to do with foundation. We're just going to add our custom CSS. So we're going to start with that. So right in the body, let's do a div, and we're going to give it a class of top nav. Okay, and it's going to have a row class. Now row is basically like container in Bootstrap. It brings everything into the middle. Okay, and then inside row, we're going to use the grid system. Okay, now I should have said this earlier, but if you want to, you may want to watch the foundation crash course I have, because it really goes into depth with the grid system and all that. But basically, there's a grid system. We can use 12 columns, and what I want to do is just use two 6-column divs. So this should be 6 columns, this side should be 6 columns. So let's do a div with the name of columns, and then we're going to say large 6. So basically on large screens like this, it's going to be divided into two 6-column divs. So we'll need that one, and then we'll need another one. Okay, now inside here, we're going to put this UL, which is the location and stuff like that. Okay, so stupid stuff like this I'm going to paste in. There's no sense in you watching me type out an LI, LI tags. Now this here, this I, is going to be an icon which comes from Font Awesome. Now we haven't brought in Font Awesome yet, so it's not going to show up, but I do want to just put the markup in. Okay, so that's going to be that side. Now this side, I'm going to paste in another UL. That's going to be on this div. Okay, so now we have both sides. Let's go ahead and save that. And then we'll open that up. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like so far. There's no CSS yet, but it should. Oh, you know what? This is a medium. This is large. This is medium. So we also want to add in medium-6. Okay, save that. I don't know why this isn't auto-loading. It usually does. But now it's going to split into 2 columns, or two divs that are 6 columns on medium and large screens. Now if we go down to small, it's not going to, and we don't want it to. We want it to be responsive and mobile friendly. Alright, so that's the top bar HTML, or the top nav I should say. Now we'll do the top bar. So let's go underneath that, and we can actually grab that from the documentation. So right here, copy that and paste that in. Alright, and then we do want the top bar left, but it's not going to be a UL, so we can get rid of this whole thing. Okay, and then top bar right is not going to be this either, so let's get rid of that. So we have top bar left, top bar right. On the left is going to be our branding, which is going to be in an H3. So this is going to say BT hosting. But if we look at the project, you'll see the BT it's colored and it has this background and padding, so we're going to add a span tag around just the BT. Alright, and then what we want to do is add in these links here. So let's go to top right, and I'm going to just paste this in. Okay, so we have our different pages, and notice on the home link I put a class of current, okay, because we want to style that separately depending on which page we're on. So let's go ahead and save that and see what we get. Oops. Okay, so that's what it'll look like. This should actually be inline by default, I would think. You know what, we might have to give it a class of menu. Let's try that. Yeah, okay, yeah, give it a class of menu. And foundation will make it inline. Alright, so initially I was going to do all the HTML and then the CSS, but I'm going to do it by parts. Okay, so let's now jump to the CSS and start with the top bar here. I'm sorry, the top nav. I keep calling that the top bar. This is actually the top bar. So we're going to create a special Sass file to work in. So in this SCSS, we'll create a file called _custom.scss. Okay, now let's just put some code in here to test it out. So I'll say body, and let's say background red. Save it, and then to bring this in, we just need to import it into app SCSS. So down at the bottom, we're going to do @import, and then we should just be able to say custom. Actually, it needs to go in quotes. Save that, and there we go. So we know that that's being brought in, so we can now get rid of that. Okay, so we're going to start with the top nav. I'm going to put a comment in here. Whoop. And I'm going to just paste some styles in. So we'll start with the actual top nav class. So we're going to set that to width 100. The background, actually, you know what? I want to set that to a variable. We'll keep it like that for now. But I'm going to show you in settings, we're going to change up some of the variables. So top nav, let's save that. Okay, so that gives it a width of 100%, background with that dark color, and then zeroes out the padding and margin. So now we want to do, if we look at the HTML, top list. Okay, we have top list and then top list right. Top list right. So let's go ahead and go back into our custom. And let's paste that in. So for this, we're setting the margin and padding to 0, taking away the bullet points, and setting the overflow to hidden. So if it goes outside of its element, it'll be hidden. Alright, so let's save that. And if we look at that, it's not going to do much. It just removes the, the padding and bullets. Now we want to do the list items. Okay, so the list items, we want to float this way. So we want them inline. So we can actually do nesting with Sass instead of having to do, top list li. We can put an li inside of this, like that. Okay, and it'll only reflect on list items that are in this class. So let me just paste in this. So again, we're setting list style none. You probably don't have to, but I do it anyways. And then we're floating them to the left, making them go horizontal. Adding some padding, top and bottom will have 10 pixels, left and right will have 15, and then the color is going to be light color, and font size 13 pixels. So let's save that, reload, and it should look like that. Alright, now I do want to add some padding to the right of the icon, which you can't see yet because we haven't implemented Font Awesome. So I am going to just say li I, which will grab all the I tags, and then let's just say padding right 8 pixels. Alright, so we'll save that. And then the first one here, the first li, I want to set the padding left to 0 because I don't want it pushed over. So we can do li and then say :first dash child and set padding left to 0. Okay, save that, and then that removes that left padding. Alright, so let's see, the next thing we're going to do is the top list right, which is this. So let's go outside of top list, so way down at the bottom here, and I'm just going to paste this in. Okay, so top list right, basically doing the same thing we did up here, we're just floating to the right. Okay, and then let's go ahead and paste in the list item. Okay, so list item, pretty much the same as what we did above, adding the padding, changing the color, font size, save that, and now it should look like this. Okay, now we want the links to be white or a light color here, so in here let's put in an A. Actually, let's tab this over. So for that, let's say color, and we'll say white. I'm going to replace some of these colors with variables, like I said, but for now we'll just put that. And that's that. So that's the top nav. Okay, so now we want to style the top bar. So I'm going to put a comment in here, and let's say dot top dash bar. So we want to actually, you know what? Let's go into settings.scss because there's some stuff I need to change here. So the top bar actually has some styling down at the bottom. If we go all the way down, you'll see this top bar padding 0.5. I'm going to set it to 1.5. So if we save that and we reload, you'll see that it added more padding. Okay, so it makes it thicker. Now the background, you'll see that it's set to a variable called light gray. I'm going to set it to dark gray. Alright, so if we save that, now it's a dark gray. Now if we go up at the top, you can see our variables for light gray, medium, dark gray, and then the primary, the foundation palette. Okay, so it has these different classes that are associated with different colors. Now what I want to do is set my own primary secondary values up here. So I'm going to set primary, let's see, I'm going to set that to this value, which is not much different than the blue that's included with foundation, but it's slightly different. And then secondary, which is usually gray, I'm going to set that to a green color. So let me just paste that in. It's going to be that value. Okay, and then down here we're going to set primary to the primary variable we created and set secondary to the secondary value. Okay, so and then down here for light gray, I'm going to change that to F4 3 times. That's going to be even lighter than that light gray. And then medium, let's see what we have for medium. Okay, let me grab that. It's going to be that 494 B4C, and then dark gray is going to be 3D3 F40. And then I'm going to add one more gray shade, and we'll call it medium light gray, and that's going to be all C's, 6 C's. Okay, and then black, which they have set to this, I'm going to set it to total black, which is 6 zeros. And then white, we'll set that to total white, which is 6 F's. Alright, and I think that's good. Let's save that. And if we reload, you'll see that this got darker. Now, I don't want this top nav the same as this. I actually want this to use the wait, what did we use on the top bar? Top bar. Oh yeah, we set that down here, didn't we? So the top bar is using the dark gray. Let's change that to medium gray. Save. Okay, so now that uses the medium gray. And then let's go into our custom SCSS and let's exchange this for the dark gray variable, which we can use. We can use any of those variables in this file. Okay, so we'll put dark gray, and then for the LI color, let's put white. And let's see, for this LI color, we'll also use white, and for the link color, white. You don't have to do this, but I think it's a little better using the variables. So save that, and it shouldn't change much. Okay, it doesn't look like it changed at all, but that's good. Okay. Now let's see, for the color of the top bar, I think that's in the settings as well. Let's see, or maybe not. No, so we'll add that. All right, so in the custom SCSS under top bar, let's do color, and we'll say white. That should change the heading color or the logo, whatever. Okay, and then the links we also want to be white. So we'll go like that. Save. Okay. I also want to set those to uppercase. So instead of doing it on the A tag, I'm going to do it on the LI tag. And we'll say text transform uppercase. Okay, that's good. Now for the hover state, I want it to have the secondary color, which is the green. So what we'll do is we'll go down here and say A, and we want to say A colon hover, and then let's do color, and we'll set it to secondary. Save it, and now it has the green color when we hover over it. Now we also want to style the current class, so A dot current, and we're going to set again the color to secondary, and then we're also going to set border bottom 3 pixels solid and secondary. Save, and now you can see that the active or the current link has the border and the color, secondary color. Okay, so now I want to do the branding right here. So the BT, which is in a span tag, we want to style that. So let's go, we'll just go right here and say span. And let me just paste this in. Okay, so now for the color, what I'm doing here, the primary, which is a dark blue, is too dark to be on the gray background. So what I'm doing is I'm using a lighten function that's available with Sass, and we're passing in the color we want to lighten, which is primary, and then lightening it 30%. Okay, and then setting the background to dark gray, which isn't going to work because this is dark. No, that's medium gray. So setting the background to dark gray, padding, margin right, and a light gray border. Actually, I'm going to set that to medium. Actually, let's not use a border. Alright, so let's save that and reload. And now we have our logo, which isn't much, but it's better than just having it all one color. Okay, now notice that if I stretch this out, this is going way over here. That's because we don't have a row class like this, like we did with the top nav. So let's go ahead and go back to index.html, and in the top bar right under this div, we'll say div class equals row, and that's going to end right here. Okay, save that, and now it pushes it back to the middle. Okay, so I think that's it for the top nav and the top bar. So now we're going to move to the showcase area. So let's go to the HTML, and we're going to put this in a section, and we'll give it a class of showcase. Whoops, it should be section. And we want to move everything in the showcase into the middle, so div class row. And we're going to be using the columns here. If we look at the finished product, basically we want this to be inside of a 5-column div. Okay, we're going to put it into a 5-column div and move it over 1. You can see how there's space here because we offset it by 1. So let's say div class. We want to do div class columns, and we're going to set large 5. It's going to be 5 columns. Set it for medium as well, and then we want to offset it. So large offset 1 and medium offset 1. Okay. And then let's see. Whoop, I gotta end that. Now, if we look at this, if we look at the final template, this blue box right here is going to be a div with the class of showcase box. And down here, the green is going to be showcase box bottom. So these are actually going to be separate. And then inside the showcase box, we're going to have right here, we're going to split it into 2 6-column divs. Okay, there's basically, you know, half, 6 and 6, because it's 12 altogether. So we're going to paste that in right inside the 5-column. So basically we have showcase box, we have an H3, we have the paragraph, and then we're creating a row with 2 6-column divs with each of the ULs inside, okay, which are these 2 ULs. So let's save that, and it's going to look like crap right now, but let's take a look. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. And then we're going to put the bottom showcase box, so this ends right here, so let's go directly under it, and let me just grab that real quick and paste that in. Okay, so now we have our excuse me, showcase box bottom, which is also going to have 2 6-column divs, because if we look at it, we have, this is split into 2 6-column divs. Okay, we have starting at, and then the price is going to have a div around it, and then the actual number, the dollars, is going to have a span around it because we want to make that a little bigger. And then we have on the other side, we have an H5 with a link, get started now, and we're also going to put an icon there, so we're using the I tag with the class of FA for font awesome, and then FA arrow circle right, which is the specific icon we're using. So let's save that, and let's take a look. Okay, so that's what it looks like with no CSS. So that should be it for the HTML for the showcase. So let's go ahead and add the CSS. Alright, so we'll go down below the top bar And let's do showcase. I am not spelling good today. Okay, so showcase. Let me just enter down so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Let me paste this in. So we're going to have a background with an image showcase JPEG, and you guys will be able to find that in the code in the description below if you need that image. And we're setting it to no repeat, and then we're just moving it over a little bit, 100 pixels, and that's going to be from the left. And then we're setting the minimum height of the showcase to 450, and the color of the text, which let's use the variable white. Okay. And I'm just going to go into our project, create a folder called IMG, and I'm going to paste the images that we're going to be using in here. Okay, and if you want to see those, that's what they are. Alright, so let's go ahead and reload. Wait, did I save it? No, I didn't. Oh, it makes it go down to the bottom. That sucks. I actually think there's a plugin with Atom that we can stop that from happening. Okay, so now it's showing the background image, and now what we want to do is we want to style this, both of these, the showcase box and the showcase box bottom. So let's go back and let's nest this, and I'm going to paste this in. Okay, so we nested this showcase box class. Padding, we're adding top and bottom 20, left and right 30. Margin top, we're moving it down 30 pixels. The background's going to be primary, which is the blue color, and the color is going to be white. And then what I'm doing is setting the border top right and border top left radius to 10 pixels, because if we look at this, we want these corners rounded, and it ends here, so we don't want these rounded because that wouldn't make sense. We want the top right and left rounded, and then the bottom left and right rounded on this one. Alright, and then for the paragraph, we're setting border bottom and padding bottom. That's this right here. Okay, so let's save that and take a look. And there it is. Alright, now let's do the showcase box bottom, which I'm going to just grab real quick and paste that in. Now make sure you're outside of this showcase box and paste that in. So background secondary, the green color, padding, again we're setting the radius to the bottom. Pricing is going to have a font size of 35, font weight bold, and then the start link, we're going to add some padding to it, and the link itself will be white. I should have did this earlier. Alright, so let's save that and reload. And there we go. And let's actually change 29 to $9.99. Okay, so that's our showcase. Alright, so I realize this is going to be kind of a long video. I wanted to try to squeeze it in, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that without it being, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So what I'll do is break it into a couple parts. So we're going to stop here, and in the next video we'll continue with the next section.